All right. Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Turgon bringing you a new video today. And today we're going to talk about a couple of quick things and then a little bit lengthier discussion. So, my agenda for today, I want to just do, in the spirit of tradition, a quick recap of my 12th season playing Lord of the Rings Rise to War. I'm going to keep it super high level. Anyone who's intimate with this season already knows all the things they need to know. So I don't want to get into any of that. I just want to keep it real simple and clean. I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to make anyone mad. I just want to simply relay a couple of simple facts regarding the season. So after we're done with that, then I want to just do a quick walkthrough of all 12 of my seasons high level. Um, because it's been a journey the last 2 years playing this game, and the game has evolved over time quite a bit. And I want to talk through some of those things. And yeah, so let's just take a look real quick. I want to show you a couple. There was a lot of fighting yesterday before the season ended, and it was pretty fun. So I just wanted to show you a couple of builds that I was using. I'm gonna cut. Oh, I guess I'll go backwards. Why not? So this is a cool one right here. Let's show this one. So I've been using this double damage dealing Dane Bayorn combo. As you can see, it's pretty strong, and you have um, Gil-galad in there as a backup, and you've got Gandalf the White with his White Council in there. For anyone who's watching this who's not familiar, White Council right now is your probably your best support ability in the game, where all your formations are receiving 18% less damage from the first 5 hits, modified by focus. So you want to jack his focus up. Of course, I didn't do that here. That was kind of dumb of me. I need to maybe rethink my gear a little bit with this, but I was going for the set bonus here for fortitude, so that he would stay alive a little bit longer, so that maybe I can leverage some more of these things a little bit longer, like the White Rider, which is basically doing it's increasing the damage that the two enemy formations is taking, so it's really good. Um, So there's my Dane. You can kind of check out my Dane. Need to get a new trait on here for this orb, but other than that, I'm pretty happy with him. He's pretty strong. Really like him. Glad I decided to pivot towards him this season. And then I just started working on Bayorn. As you can see, the gear isn't all the sexiest, but he is still pretty strong. And the units that I'm using are kind of wacky units because by this time in the day, I'm running on fumes and just putting in there what I can put in there. But as you can see, it is really strong. And then my second army is this Galadriel amalgamation. Now, take notice I don't have any evil commanders in here. It's because we're on a role play server and I don't have access to anything evil at all. So I'm playing with what I got. And my Galadriel, I really liked using Spirits of the Wood with her, with the Remedy elite skill, and then you got her healing. You want the madness and the damage, and then leftover goes into Mistress of Magic, so that her normal attacks do focus damage. And it's all focus, 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 focus. Oh, no focus. It used to be focus on this. They changed it with 2.0. So some fun stuff. Just wanted to show you a couple of reports here. It was a lot of fun yesterday. Um, this is my third army, and it's usually I just use this for PvE, but I decided to bring it out and test it against fence here, and you know, not the greatest gear on this. Of course, I'm not showing my opponent's gear, so it's not really a fair comparison for everyone who I'm showing here, but just to get you an idea of what some of the stuff looks like. Not too bad at all. It was a fun day yesterday. It was honestly yesterday was probably the most fun I had all season because finally there was some fighting happening. Most of the season, really, let's go to the map, was just dominated by Lyndon. And we started the season about a week before 2.0 dropped, so we were able to farm in the 1.0 environment using all of our stuff that was already set up, our commanders, our gear, leveling units with gold, all those kind of stuff. And then once 2.0 dropped, across the entirety of the server, just activity took a real nosedive, and we were able to prevail. So I'll just leave that at that, and that's that. Oh, let's take a look at this pin here. What do we end up with this pin? 2.9. Hey, not bad. And let's just take. I was very grateful that I was able to reach my 1 million merit goal this season. Um, Now let's go and review all 12 of my seasons here playing Lord of the Rings Rise to War, and you'll note that this season, just because of the way that the server played out, and with 2.0, the impact of 2.0, and so many people leaving the game or the server or whatever, my merit this season. This is the least merit I've ever had in any season playing this game. This is probably the season where I've been the least active across all the seasons I've been playing this game. So considering all those circumstances, I'm pretty happy with the end result. Um, how we got here, maybe not so much, but beggars can't be choosers. So you look at last season, playing Kings of Men, ended up with 2.5 million merit, and we got our butts whooped by Pran Prak, and it was a pretty rough season all in all, just because we had you know, and 500 players versus about 200 players. So it just felt like we had a knee on our throat the whole season. It was pretty rough. Season before that, we played the War of the Ring, and that was pretty fun. I ended up with 4.1 million merit. That was a lot of fun, although the season was basically over after, I want to say, about 2 or 3 weeks. And all things considered, it was a fun season. Could have been a little bit more competitive, but it is what it is. I tip my hat to MORG for that season. They played really well throughout the entirety of the season, and their supporting cast, maybe not so much. Over here, we played the campaign Rebuilding Glory. This was my first season with Yadu. I ended up with 3.1 million merit. Shout out to Danny. And this was a fun season. It was very competitive for quite a while. Probably about 3 or 4 weeks into the season, it took for everything to kind of the gridlock to finally be broken. We finally broke our enemies and were able to break through and assert dominance over the remainder of the season. Then we worked on creating a King of the Hill that happened. I don't know if what it was, like maybe 10 days before the end of the season or something. I feel like the King of the Hill happened, and then there was still a pretty good chunk of season left where we were just kind of sitting around bored waiting for it to end. Um, but it was a fun season, all in all. The season before that, I played another War of the Ring. This is a silly graphic showing Gilgalad here because I played Evil this season, and my number one commander that season by far was Khaldun. This was my max personal merit in a season, 4.7 million, and I'm going to just guesstimate that 3 million of that merit was from Khaldun alone. Had a lot of fun this season. This season is the season I wish I could replicate over and over again. Where, yeah, we had about 200, 225 players maybe going up against 500, but our 225 were really well coordinated and active, and we had some pretty solid whale power, and the 500 wasn't really super coordinated, and they had a few whales, but by and large, they didn't have the whale power to meet our whale power. And we had to really, really fight hard to earn this ring. But all in all, when the fights happened, we won the fights pretty easily. It was just a lot of tiling wars and getting around the map from place to place and overcoming that numbers disadvantage. By the end of the season, those 500 players that the enemy had was probably down to about 200 because a lot of people, when you're losing, they lose spirit, they stop playing the game. So this was a really fun, interesting season. Super proud of the season. And before that, I played a Rebuilding Glory campaign, and this is a season where I fought Yadu. I spent most of the season with a team called Loki, and I ended up doing my own thing towards the end of the season. 3.3 million merit. It was a fun season all in all, but it was a frustrating season because it was the third season in a row where couldn't really get around the map or do much anything. Just stuck in the west as Arnor. And Yadu, dude, I tip my hat to Yadu that season because their coordination, their 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 leadership, their whale power was just on point, and we couldn't end up doing really anything. Season prior to this, similar story. I was playing in Gondor, ended up with 2.6 million merit this season, and we were just pretty much shoved into a box in the southern part of the map. Couldn't go west because Arnor blocked us, and couldn't go east because Varieggs blocked us, and couldn't go north because Erebor, Arnor, Rohan, everyone else blocked us. So most of my merit, honestly, this season was just farming Rohan um, at Paths of the Dead and maybe a few other places. But this season was basically done after about 2 or 3 weeks, and the rest of the season was just sitting around bored waiting for it to end. And I hate those kind of seasons, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Now, this season, 2.5 million merit, played as Erebor, and for a while we were kind of shoved in that northeast corner of the map. We were fighting Variag, we were fighting Rune, we were fighting Mordor, and then Arnor and Lothlorien came over, and we were fighting them. Our united faction was Rohan, and we were able to get them the Iron Hills, so they were able to come over and help us a little bit. And we survived long enough that some things happened from a diplomatic standpoint, where the Variags, who had had an agreement with Loth and Arnor, decided to nullify that agreement and fight Loth and Arnor. And then that season ended with Loth and Arnor basically getting nothing, even though that they were the superpower early in the season. They ended up with nothing, and the Variags won that season, as you can see down here. Um, and we weren't, because Variags flipped and it flipped our circumstances, we weren't about to fight them for the ring. We felt that they earned it. So um, that's the story of that season, and it was a lot of hard fighting, and all in all, it was a pretty fun season. And then the season before that, we're getting into the early days now. This is my first season playing the War of the Ring. I just hit 2 million merit. It was a pretty boring season all in all. I don't really remember a lot about this season, honestly, because not much happened when the war. This is the first season that this campaign existed, the War of the Ring, and the server parity was not there. There was probably about, I'm gonna just, I don't remember specifically off the top of my head because you can see the dates here. This is well over a year ago. So I think there was probably about 7 or 8 full fellowships running around the map, just shredding everything to pieces, and like 2 or 3 evil war bands. So kind of similar to the circumstances from the other War of the Ring that I showed you, except for that we were really organized and had whale power and stuff. So excuse me. Evil couldn't really do much of anything, and a lot of them quit after the first week or two of the season, and then most of the season we were just rolling around bored, waiting for it to end. So that was an easy win. Season 3, this is the PTSD season. This is a season where I was with Lothlorien, and we got our asses handed to us, and I couldn't do anything at all because other members, leaders of the faction, um, had very strong personalities, and my feedback was not really accepted on any level. Nothing I really said or did really ever at any point during the season was impactful. We started the season as Eldar, and then I disbanded Eldar. Actually, I handed it over to a friend, and we went over and joined a fellowship called Wolf. Those leaders didn't really want to listen to our feedback, so we left and went back to Eldar, and we did what we could and salvaged what we could for a season. I ended up with 1.7 million merit. It's really hard to fight when you don't have any tiles, and yeah, so that was another season where I was just really glad to get out. This is my one and only Explorer badge season. Um, in the end, I was, like I said, just happy to be done with that season. It was a pretty rough season, and I stopped leading teams after this season. I was the leader of Eldar and Gold these two seasons, and I was a pretty strong leadership voice in my first season. We'll come to that in a second. After that, I never led a team again, but I've kind of been in a leadership capacity in most of these seasons. I was in a leadership role here and here, and then I fell out of a leadership role in here in the beginning of the season and kind of worked my way into more of a leadership role as the season progressed. Then we left and came over here, and I wasn't a leader at all. And then I took the bull by the horns and played a very strong leadership role in this season. And then I was in a leadership role in my 3 seasons with Yadu. And then my current season, I've just been kind of a loner. And in season 2, we won this season, but it was kind of a weird season because when the season began, basically it was Rohan with 3 full fellowships, Gondor with about a fellowship and a half, and then Mordor had like 3 warbands, and Mordor talked like a whole bunch of shit, and we allied informally. There was no united faction back then, so we formed an alliance with Gondor. We kicked Mordor's ass, and before this is back then, you could change faction a lot later into the season than you can now. So one of the Mordor warbands, straight up pretty much the whole warband, faction changed over to Rohan. And back then, you could also change alignments when you faction change. So you could go from evil to good back then. Nowadays, when you do a faction change, if you start the season as evil, you got to go somewhere else evil. And if you start the season as good, you got to go somewhere else good. Back then, that didn't exist. So um, one of the Mordor warbands came over to Rohan, filled us up, and enjoyed the benefit of getting that ring. And we ended up fighting, mostly Mordor and Gondor the rest of the season. Some unfortunate circumstances shook out with Gondor, and we went from being friends to being enemies. And all in all, after we broke Mordor, the season was pretty boring. Most of my team went chasing Gondor all around the map. I didn't really want to do that. I felt bad for what happened with them, and I didn't want to be involved with that, so I didn't do that. I did fight them a little bit towards the end, just out of boredom, but that's what happened that season. High level. And then my first season playing this game, I played as Erebor. It's kind of funny to see Elrond here because he didn't exist in the game at that point. Probably my top commander that season. I want to say Faramir, maybe Dwalin. I don't know. I don't remember much from that season, to be honest. But I hit 1.1 million merit, so I was pretty proud to hit a million merit. I didn't know how much merit was a good amount of merit back then. The game was brand new. But our leader was pretty absent that season. He basically logged in so that he could maintain his leadership role with the fellowship. But all in all, myself and a couple of my friends who I've played with pretty much every season since then, like Swalisi, who now goes by the name of Aracano. He was with me. He's been with me every season since S1. So I got to give a shout out to my boy Swalisi Aracano for hanging in with me. I know he's, had his own fair share of interesting experiences throughout this game. So um, he's the only guy I've been with since the beginning. I've been with a bunch of other guys just about every other season. So shout outs to those guys, D-Trope, A-Perk. You guys have been with me since pretty much season one. D-Trope was with me in LOIG this season. A-Perk was on the server, but he was in another faction. He was playing as Rohan. And then some other guys came over and have been with me since a lot since then. Um, Gandalf, his name was Gandalf back then, and now he goes by Fintrope. Shout out to him. Shout out to Azer, who he wasn't with me in Erebor this season. He was with X. Shout out to my boy X. Um, they were out in Linden. This the big event that happened this season. Linden won this season. So, and they sniped Moria from us. We, as Erebor, was trying to reclaim our ancestral homeland by going through the tunnels in the Misty Mountains. And we didn't know that you couldn't see the other side. You didn't have vision. There was like a 7 tile. You have to be within like 7 or 8 tiles to be able to lift the fog of war to see what's going on. So kudos to X and Azer and the team that they were with out there, Zeta. They sniped Moria from us. We were so mad about that at the time, but now, you calm down and you look back on it, and it's really one of the funniest things that's ever happened to me to this day throughout the course of this game. So yeah, so that's kind of an overview of all 12 of my seasons playing this crazy game, Lord of the Rings Rise to War. 2.0 this season really across the game created a lot of change. We'll just put it at that. Which a lot of change. A lot of players decided they didn't want to go through the work of retooling all their guys. Their 1.0 gear really wasn't super viable anymore, considering the changes that are in fact. And it took a lot of work for me personally. When you look across my gear and what I've done and what I had in the beginning of the season, and then you had 30 days to leverage like a ton of elven hammers that they gave you to drain respect from one T3 commander and dump it into another commander, T3 commander, or T2 commander, put in another T2 commander, etc. uh, and just before those 30-day buffs expired, I went through after testing everything that I had initially made, and I made a bunch of other changes. So I mean, this is all my stuff. I'm not like a super mega whale kraken. I think I'm considered kind of whalish, but I'm far from a kraken in this game. And I think, I play hard and I'm pretty active and I try to be um, competitive, but fair and, you know, ruthless when the situation warrants it and empathetic when the situation warrants it. I try, that's basically the definition of fairness. So I like to think of that I'm a pretty good competitor. I try to be fair. I try not to play with malice or hatred in my heart. Although there definitely has been seasons where I've felt hatred towards my opponents, and maybe if you watch some of my old videos, you can detect some of that. Some of it maybe is hatred. Some of it's maybe just passion for the game and having that competitive spirit. Um, you tell me what you think. Always value your comments and feedback. I hope you found this video to be interesting or insightful in some way. That wraps up season 12. I'm going to take a little bit of a break. I'm not looking to play season 13. I will be playing a season 13. That I can pretty much guarantee you, but I'm not trying to play my 13th season or start my 13th season until sometime in 2024. So we'll see how it goes. And I wish everyone well. I hope you have a happy holiday. Today's the 13th of December, not September, December. So with the holidays coming up, I know we're in the midst, I believe, of Hanukkah. So, um, you know, happy Hanukkah to those who celebrate. Merry Christmas to those who celebrate once we reach Christmas in a couple of weeks, Kwanzaa, all those holidays and such. I hope everyone has an opportunity to take a break from your jobs and rest and spend some time with your family, eat good food, be merry, relax, rest, recharge, and then we hit 2024 running. And I wish nothing but the very best for everyone. And yeah, that's it for me. That's it for Turgon in 2023. Just wishing you all well. I hope, for those who may have feelings, one way or the other towards me, I hope can just turn the page and move forward and enjoy life. So that's going to be it for today's video. Let me know if you have any thoughts, feedback in the comments below. I appreciate you taking the time to watch it. I appreciate your support. I don't make any money on my videos, so I just do this for the love of the game and of knowledge and to foster friendship and fellowship in general as best as I can. Bring truths to light when necessary. I'm not perfect. I probably missed a lot of details. I forget things. I forget to mention things. I'm not perfect. I'm a person. I make dumb mistakes all the time, but I try to learn from them and get better. And that's all you can really do, right? It doesn't matter if you're 10 years old or 20 or 40 or 80. You know, keep just keep learning and growing because that's life, baby. So happy holidays again to everyone. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next year. Turgon the Wise signing off. Cheers.